time. Today, the 6th of July, 2024. Apparently, we are in 2024. That's not really true because this year is not 2024, but let's suppose that's correct. And another day, I will tell you why there is a mistake here. So let's do a recap of what we were talking about last session, on Wednesday. On Wednesday, we were saying that we wanted to, according to the learning guide, we are going to spend this first week, talking about an activity called Línea de Tiempo Situaciones Temporales. This week and the next week, but I prefer to do it only in 1 week. In this week, we wanted to present this evidence, so I'm going to read it. En relación con la temática estudiada en el componente When I Was Younger, realiza un organizador gráfico en forma de línea de tiempo en donde narre hechos importantes de su pasado en orden cronológico, apoyándose con fotografías, dibujos, etc. Y lo va a desarrollar, lo va a presentar en herramientas tipo Canva, Mockups, Inclusive o PowerPoint o bueno, algo así. Y debe contar al menos 10 eventos de su historia como mínimo que no sean repetidos. Así que, switch to Spanish, switch to English, sorry. So, because you're talking about situations about the past, something that has already happened, right? You need to mention everything in simple past tense because you're talking about activities that started and finished yesterday, 1 year ago, 1 month ago, 10 years ago, a decade ago, I don't know, a century ago is highly improbable, but possible, and so on. So this is what you are going to talk about here in this evidence, and you are going to give me the PDF. Because this is what the schedule says. Starting on the 4th, the day before yesterday, and finishing on the 9th, in 3 days, on Tuesday, we're going to develop this evidence. And this is an example of this timeline. For example, this apprentice, Gabriela said, I was born on December 16, 2005. In this year, in 2014, I had my first tablet that my mother bought to me. There is a mistake here. I didn't see that on those days. And in 2015, I graduated from elementary school. It's more common to say elementary school instead of primary school, but this is an example. Okay. And to present the evidence, to upload the evidence into the platform, we were saying that in the platform, we go to Sayuna. And in Sayuna, by the way, it's Sayuna, not Sahuna, because it's from the Arawak language, and it means seed, semilla. Here in Sayuna, we go to Guía de Aprendizaje, type in Línea de Tiempo Situaciones Pasadas, and here we click in the green button. I'm going to change the role. Apprentice. We click here, agregar entrega. Oh my God, my eyes are not working well. And here we type something or we add the presentation and say guardar cambios. And that would be all that you need to do in order to upload your evidence. That's everything we need to do about the evidence. Taking that into account, we said, okay, we are going to talk about simple past tense. And to talk about simple past tense, we are going to need verbs, actions, activities we perform, right? But these actions, these activities, these verbs are going to be mentioned in past. So we have two kinds of verbs, regular verbs and irregular verbs, right? So about irregular verbs, they are called irregular because the present, the past, and the past participle, estado, comido, roto, venido, costado. Is that a real word? Maybe, I don't know. Dado, ido, escuchado, and so on. That's the past participle. We are not going to focus on that because this is maybe level 6, 7, 8, I don't know, but it's not level 4. we are going to focus on this second column, wasn't, were, built, came, cost, and so on. And they are called irregular but because present, past, and past participles sometimes are the same, sometimes are completely different, sometimes are slightly different, not, they don't change a lot, maybe change in the writing but not in the speaking, or vice versa, or maybe just changing one word. So that's why they are called irregular verbs. And we said that these irregular verbs are very important because they are very useful in our day-by-day life, right? So this is why we need to memorize them, or at least try. So that's why we are going to play a game about this topic, irregular verbs, just to remember some of these verbs, only some, not all of them, because they are many and they are 30, and we don't have time to do this because we did this on Wednesday, so I need to take advantage of the time, so I'm not going to do all of them, but we are going to play some. So let's go with this. 2 minutes is more than enough. And the link is... Okay, Paul is not here. Okay. The link is here. Could you join to the game, Livia? Hello again, Paula. And the link for the game is here in the chat. Okay. There you are. Okay, I'll start at 7:12 if somebody joins. If no, I'll skip the game. Okay, let's go. 2 minutes. What do we have to do? Obviously, answer correctly the questions in there and collect the diamonds. Doesn't matter the color. If it doesn't matter if it's violet, green, yellow, orange, whatever. We need to collect diamonds, and we need to skip the other kind of stuff like boots, like cans, like bones. Right? We have to skip them. We don't have to take them. Okay, so good luck. It's only irregular verbs. The topic is about irregular verbs. You need to find the past form of the verb. Okay, time up. With irregular verbs, for the players, the second place is for me, and the first place is for Paola. Well done. Good job. All right, so this is about irregular verbs. This is an recap of regular verbs. That was all. I'm going to silence all of you. If you need to open the microphone, hey, you can do it. But for now, just to make questions. But for now, I'm going to silence all of you. And this is about irregular verbs. But what about regular verbs? We also said that regular verbs are known because regular verbs end on ed, all of them, right? So you can check the past form and the past participle form are exactly the same, and all of them end in d, ed more precisely, right? So we said that in order to create them, we had to follow some rules, right? And the rules were, okay, add d, ed, ied, depends on the context, and if the verb ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, the last consonant must be doubled, with some exceptions. The exception number one is that we don't double the W, X, or Y, the first exception. And the second exception is that if the stress, what we say, la tilde, el acento in Spanish, is not in the last syllable, we are not going to duplicate the last consonant. That was all. But besides that, we said that the pronunciation is also important because this ed ending that we are going to use for regular verbs, only regular verbs, is going to sound in three different ways. It's going to sound like t, d, or id. How do we know when to use one, the other, or the third sound? Okay, to do that, we need to remember something, that there are voiced and voiceless sounds. Voiced means that there is vibration in our throat. And voiceless would mean that there is no vibration in our thoughts, in our throats, sorry. So it depends on the consonant, not in the full word, but also only in the consonant. So we said that, for example, vowel, if we pronounce the sound of the V, right? V, it's going to generate vibration in our throat, and we can touch it. The idea is to touch it, to feel it. But instead, for example, with the word strategy, the letter S is not going to generate a vibration. It's going to generate a sound, but not a vibration, because the sound is S, right? So what are we going to do with this? We are going to unify, we're going to make groups between, we're going to do two groups. We're going to classify vowel sounds with vowel sounds, I mean vibration with vibration, and voiceless vowel, oh my god, I made a mistake, by voiced sound with voice sounds, and voiceless sounds with voiceless sounds. I mean words that not generate sounds without vibration with sounds with no vibration, right? In order to do that, we are going to choose, we're going to select, we're going to check some words, some verbs. For example, the word walk. We're going to focus in the last sound, only in the last sound. If the sound doesn't generate vibration, I'm not saying a sound, I'm saying vibration. If it doesn't generate vibration, the ed ending of the verb is going to sound like t. For example, walk, walk, present, walked, past. This is an example. Another example, cross, crossed, present and past. The second option, if we have a voiced sound, that means there is vibration in our throat, and that's going to be noticed in the last sound of the verb. For example, jag, jag, that generates vibration in our throats. Therefore, the past form is going to sound like the jag, jagged, jagged, right? And finally, if we have verbs that already end in t or d in terms of sound, the past form, I mean the ed ending, is going to sound like id. Affect, affected, decide, oops, decide, decided, last, lasted, recommend, recommended. That was everything we talked about yesterday. So to do some examples, to just to check if this is clear, I'm going to ask all of you to pronounce the past form of one of these verbs. I'm going to ask for two verbs each. So I'm pretty sure you all can open your microphones. So don't be shy. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter because we learn by making mistakes too. And this is one of the best ways to learn. Therefore, let's go with Livia. I want to pronounce the past form of the verb arrive. What's the form? Arrived, arrived, or arrived? What do you think? Okay, I guess my friend is not present. Therefore, the same question. Paola, arrive. What's the past form? Arrived, arrived, or arrived? What do you think?
Arrived.
Arrived. Let's check. Arrive. The last sound of the verb generates vibration. Right? So because it generates vibration, the past form must use a sound that generates vibration too. what sound generates vibration between these three options, between t, d, or id? The one that generates vibration is this, d. Therefore, the past form is going to sound like arrived. Arrive, present, arrived, past. Kidok? Okay, next question. This is for, let me check. Let me choose one verb. This one. Decide. Decide. Rocio, can you open the microphone, Rocio? Okay, we have three options. We can say decided, decided, or decided. What do you think? Decided, decided, or decided? What sounds better? Okay, I guess Rocio cannot open the microphone. One more time. Livia, can you open the microphone? I guess not. Then, Paola, what do you think?
Decide.
Once again, can you repeat that, please?
Decide.
Okay, decide is the present form. What's the past form? Decided, decided, or decided?
Decided.
Perfect, that's it. That's correct. Because we are following the rule that says if our verb already ends in sound of t or d, to make it feel the past form, because we need to make it notice that we are talking about the past, we say it, decided. Okay, perfect. That's good. All right. So this is what we did until yesterday. We were talking about verbs, regular and irregular verbs. So I suggest you to check the list of verbs. I already uploaded in the platform in Sayuna, so you can check it. And I suggest you to choose verbs randomly in past form and try to discover what's the pronunciation in past. For example, recommend, recommended, protect, protected, predict, predicted, repair, repaired. Let's go down. Worry, worried, warn, warned, wish, wished, and so on. I suggest you to do that. This is a suggestion, of course, nothing else. I shouldn't have closed the list of verbs. Yeah, I'm going to use them in a moment. Okay, so this is what we did yesterday. Now we're going to focus on simple past tense. But why simple past tense? Once again, because when we are talking about this timeline, we are going to talk about things that already happened in the past, starting in the past and finished in the past. Started 1 month ago and finished 1 month ago. And that's it. For now, we're going to focus only in affirmative sentences. And we have to be very careful here because affirmative sentences, only in affirmative sentences, we're going to use these rules we talked about yesterday and we are mentioning today in this moment. We were mentioning today because we're going to focus with affirmative sentences in simple past, in this verb, in the verb that is in the middle of this column. Okay, so the one that says simple past: broke, came, cut, smelt, died, destroyed, filled, and so on. We are going to focus on there because in negative sentences And in questions, we are not going to focus on that verb. But in affirmative sentences, this is very, very important. And because most of the time, we are going to use affirmative sentences about what we did in the past. For example, yesterday, my daily routine of the last week was this. I did this, we did that, we played this, we went there, and so on, right? We normally use affirmative sentences. So, what are we going to, why is it important to study the simple past tense? By the way, there are two ways, there are two paths to take into account when we study simple past tense. Because we have the verb to be, this is what we are going to study later, not today, but we are going to study the verb to be later. Like in simple present tense, we said we have two arms, we have two hands, two legs to study this. We have the verb to be first, and we have the use of other verbs, be both regular verbs and irregular verbs, called, create, created, became, do, or the past form did, right? We're going to focus on the past form of these verbs here. We're not going to focus with the verb to be for now, because this is a story for another day. We are going to focus on this second part, this second section. So, why do we study simple past tense side B? I mean, this part in green. We're going to use it to express completed actions in a concrete moment of the past. Something happened yesterday and ended yesterday. That's it. First situation. Second situation, we're going to use it to describe a series of completed actions in the past. So yesterday I woke up at 6 a.m., then I took a shower, later I had breakfast, and that was all, for example. Because when the first activity finished, started the second activity. When finished the second activity, started the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth, the ninth, and so on, right? This is a series of completed activities. When one activity finishes, starts the second one. When finishes the second one, start the third, and so on. And finally, we are using the simple past tense to mention something that was true for a period of time in the past, right? For example, this is an example of habits in the past. For example, somebody used to smoke a lot when we were living the pandemics. Let's suppose that's correct. He is not smoking anymore, and before the pandemics, he didn't smoke. Let's suppose that's correct. Let's suppose. So, this is why we study simple past tense for these three situations, to mention things that started and finished in the past, to describe a series of actions that started and finished in the past, one after the other. And finally, to mention that something lasted for a period of time in the past. Started in the past, lasted for a period in time, but also finished in the past. Lasted for a month, for a year, for, I don't know, let's suppose a week, but it's not relevant today. That's it. Okay, so what do we have to take into account with simple past tense? Do you remember? I'm going to do the parallel between present and past here. Do you remember that in present tense, we needed a person or a group of people who performed an activity today? We work, she studies, they live, Mariana reads, Marcos drives, and so on. Do you remember this? We needed a person or a group of people who perform an action, who had an interaction with a verb. Remember this? And that if the person who performs the action is a man, a woman, or an animal, or an object perhaps, this activity, this action, this verb was modified by adding d, ed, or ied. Sorry, s, es, or ies. I'm sorry, I was mixing the past. Okay, something similar is going to happen with the simple past tense because we need a person or a group of people who performed an action in the past. If this action is a regular verb, we modify this regular verb adding d, ed, ied, or double or doing a duplicate of the last consonant with some exceptions, of course. And if the action he or she or we or they or whoever it is performing an action that is a irregular verb, is an irregular verb, then we have to memorize it, right? So we studied, they sang, Marcos went to church, Mariana played the guitar, and so on, right? So we need a person or a group of people who performed an action in the past, and that's it. That's all we need to know. That's in fact the difference between present and past is in terms of grammar is visible only with the verb because the rest is and obviously the context because the order is exactly the same. We need a person who perform an action. That's it. In this case, in the past. Example, a series of actions. John arrived home, took a shower, prepared his dinner, went to bed. That's it. That's all we need to know. A person who performs an action, and that's it. So to do this, to practice this exercise, we're going to play a game. You know, I like games. Therefore, we are going to play a game. And this game takes into account only affirmative sentences for now. We're going to check some affirmative sentences in simple past tense. To do this, you need to remember regular verbs and irregular verbs. That's all you need to remember with this game. Okay, when the timer says 50 seconds, I'll start the game, okay? Unless that everyone present here joins before the 50 seconds, of course. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and good luck. Okay, look. Second place, this is for Paola's. First place, this is for Rocio. Good done. Well done. Let's check the difficult questions. Apparently, there are no difficult questions, but just in case, let's see. Let's check the last two questions. And this is, okay, we apples yesterday evening. So when we are saying this word yesterday, we are talking about the past because yesterday means ayer. So we need to use the verb in past form. The verb is eat. The verb is eat. The past in present. So the past form is ate. We ate apples yesterday evening. Comimos manzanas ayer en la tarde-noche. And let's go with the next one. We do our homework every day. This is present. We our homework 2 hours ago. Once again we are using a verb, an irregular verb in this case, and the verb is do. The past form of the verb do is what we are going to use right now with negative sentences and questions, and the past form is did. We did our homework 2 hours ago. So that's why we need to use, that's why I focused in verbs, because verbs are everything here. If you know verbs, you know everything. Well, not everything, but 60% of this, right? In my opinion. So let's continue. We already know how to create affirmative sentences in simple past tense. That's easy. We're going to focus now in simple past tense, negative and questions, negative sentences and questions. And I'm going to do the parallel because this is easier, I guess, because you can do a connection, a relationship between present and past. In present, we said that we need a person that doesn't perform an action. Marcos doesn't work. Mariana doesn't study. Felipe and Tatiana don't live in England or whatever, right? In this case, it's similar to Spanish because we need to mention something that is not real. And the way we mention that something is not real is by using don't or doesn't. And that's in past form and in present tense, sorry. The negative sentences in present tense. In past tense, we're going to do something very similar because the past form for negative sentences is going to require an auxiliary verb. And this auxiliary verb is going to be the same verb we used before, the verb to do, but in its past form. And the past form of verb to do, we checked that in the game, is did. But the auxiliary verb needs the negative form. The negative form is did not, or its contraction, didn't. And because we are using an auxiliary verb, the main verb is not going to change. It's going to be the same. I mean, if we check the list of verbs, we're going to say we did not deliver, we didn't end, we didn't fix, we didn't check, we didn't look, we didn't love, we didn't answer, we didn't make, we didn't lose, and so on, whatever, right? So is very similar to present because the main verb is not going to change and we are going to use an auxiliary verb. And finally, with questions, we do something similar to simple present tense again. Remember, do you remember that in simple present tense, we use the same auxiliary verb, but at the beginning of the question, we say do or does, the person and the action this person perform. For example, do you live in Madrid? Does Mariana play the guitar or whatever, right? Do we study French, right? Take into account that in present tense, the verb, the main verb, I mean, didn't change, was in its original form. I mean, the first word in the first column of the word in the first column of the verbs list. That's it, right? Something similar is going to happen with simple past tense. What's the difference? The only difference. The only difference is that the auxiliary verb is going to be in past. So the auxiliary verb is the verb to do, and the past form of the verb to do is did. For example, did you sleep well? Did you do the homework? Did you go to? Did you visit your grandparents this weekend? I don't know, right? The main verb is not going to change, and the auxiliary verb is in its past form. That's all. Excuse me. That's all you need to know about the simple past tense, and the parallel between present and past is very similar. The main verb is not going to change, and the auxiliary verb is going to be in past. That's it. Finally, do you remember that if you wanted to make long questions with simple present tense, we use something called WH questions, because we didn't just answer yes or no, because we wanted to create a conversation with people. We wanted to create relationships, right? We use questions like where, when, why, how often, and so on. Like in Spanish, we're going to use these WH questions at the beginning of the question, if we want to use them, of course. Doesn't matter if it's in present, in past, in future, with continuous or progressive tenses, perfect tenses, or present progressive tenses, or simple tenses. We are going to use these WH questions always before the auxiliary verb. In this case, always before did. Where did you go yesterday? When did you go to I don't know, when did you go to Marquetalia, Tolima? I don't know. I'm just guessing words. Okay, so this is how simple past tense works. That's it. So in the summary, I'm going to give you a summary, and in the summary there is a conversation for you in order for you to practice this text, right? So there are two texts here. In the second one, you need to choose the past form of the verb. So what's the past form of go? What's the past form of meet? The verb to be, make, invite, have, and so on. And the first dialogue is for you to practice with me. So if there is a volunteer to practice this dialogue in order to check the pronunciation, you're welcome. If there are no volunteers, I'll skip the text. So if you want to practice your speaking skills, raise your hand so I will know that you want to practice it. If no, I will skip this exercise, this activity, and I'll proceed with the game. So, does anybody want to practice? Okay, I guess not. Therefore, let's go with the game, and that would be all for today. Once again, I'll start the game when the timer says 50 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Break a leg. Okay, doc, you have already finished. I'm going to stop the game. I'm going to give you feedback. Thank you for participating, ladies, and I'll check the most difficult questions. In fact, I'm going to check, I'm going to focus on only 2 or 3, yeah. Okay, so yesterday morning they didn't. You see that this is a negative sentence, and remember that with negative sentences and questions, the main verb doesn't change because we have the auxiliary verb. Therefore, what word here is not modified? Which one doesn't have the ed ending? Because this is a regular verb. Walked, wanted, arrived, all of them are regular verbs in past. But want, this is correct. Yesterday morning, they didn't want to eat a sandwich. Next one. I think my parents, this car because of the color. In this case, the verb is an irregular verb. The verb is choose. Choose. Because it's an irregular verb, the past form must not finish with D, must be another verb. In this case, my parents chose this car. Pienso que mis padres escogieron este carro. And finally, this is a question. And remember that with questions, we use the auxiliary verb to start a question. And the auxiliary verb is the verb to do in past form. The past form of a verb to do is did. So, did. What are the options here? Did, didn't, or did. There are no more options. Did they play did they play the violin last week? No, they. What's the correct option? No, they did. There is a contradiction here, like in present simple. No? In this case, we need to complete the short answer with yes, they did. No, they did not. Yes, I did. No, I did not. Yes, he did. No, he did not, and so on. In this case, no gets completed with the negative form of the contraction. He didn't. Sorry, they didn't. Did they play the violin? No, they did not. And that would be all. Okay, that's it with the game, and that's it with the class. If you have any other questions, just let me know it through this forum, through this chat, or through the forums, through the emails, or any other option you already know how to contact me. Okay, so questions? Yeah, Paula.
Hola, profe, buenas noches. Profe, es que usted al inicio de la clase dice que todos estamos inscritos en la plataforma de Sajuna, pero yo
Sayuna.
nuevamente aparezco sin nada. O cómo lo contacto por el chat, o cómo funciona, porque realmente no me aparece nada.
Okay, let's see. Paula Andrea Ciro Ordóñez.
No, no, señor, es Ospina y tampoco aparezco en esa lista y es la de Excel que habían enviado.
Yeah, you're not here.
Profe, es que imagínese que yo me inscribí a inglés nivel 3 hace mucho tiempo y nunca, como que una vez que me dijeron que ya me podía registrar para ingresar a clases, pero nunca ingresé a clases porque, no sé, no me dieron como los permisos y tampoco me llegaron los links para las clases. Entonces se me hizo extraño que me pusieran en el nivel 4. Pues igual yo estoy asistiendo a las clases, pero yo no aparezco ni en el listado, ni aparezco si estuviera registrada, nada, en lo absoluto.
Yeah, de hecho es cierto porque yo ahorita acabo de actualizar toda la lista, ya tengo mis 80 aprendices por cada ficha y efectivamente usted no está en ninguna de mis 3 listas, ni en nivel 4 ni en nivel 5. Eso significa que es muy probable, bueno, de hecho es altamente probable de que su instructor sea alguien diferente y que no sea yo, porque efectivamente no soy yo su instructor.
Y entonces ahí, ¿cómo hago, profe? Porque de todas formas, o sea, yo estoy tomando sus clases, pero pues si es otro instructor me estoy atrasando, o sea, no estoy en la clase que es.
Hmm. Contáctese
¿Cómo
con
hago
este.
para averiguar qué clase me toca?
Bueno, el problema es que no tenemos Cena Sofía. Sin Cena Sofía no puedo saber en dónde usted está matriculada. Pero trate de contactarse con este número, ya le digo cuál es. Le voy a dar el teléfono de una de mis compañeras de trabajo, que es muy probable que usted, con la que usted haya conseguido el número. ¿Usted conoce a Joana, tal vez? ¿La instructora Joana?
No, profe, no.
¿Cómo consiguió el link de la sesión de acá?
Pues me llegó un correo con el link diciendo que iniciaba clases el día martes. Martes,
¿Correo
miércoles.
mío?
Y a este que estoy ingresando estos días es el que me llegó.
Qué extraño.
Esto es 15, 4.
Ella tiene el registro de todos los aprendices, todos nuestros aprendices, ¿cierto? Y es. Ella muy probablemente sepa con quién le toca, porque yo en esta parte sí estoy medio, pues, yo no tengo la organización acá, me informo en función de lo que esté en Sayuna, y en Sayuna por lo menos usted no está registrada conmigo. Entonces, lamentablemente Sena Sofía no está funcionando, así que no le puedo decir en qué nivel está, porque Sena Sofía es el que me dice a mí exactamente en qué curso está, pero como Sena Sofía está en migración, entonces no puedo hacer eso y no tengo la base de datos. Entonces, espero, ojalá, eh, Joana, es una de las compañeras, ella tiene la base de datos de aprendices y todo. Creo que ella le puede decir en qué nivel está, porque conmigo no está. Y de pronto, si le está llegando correos míos, posiblemente haya existido una, ¿cómo se llama esto? Una confusión de información, por lo que estamos haciendo el proceso de migración. Entonces, contáctese
Ah,
con
bueno,
ella
profe.
y de todos modos, aquí también en Sayuna, usted me busca por aquí por el chat, el globito este, ¿cierto? Ahí busca mi nombre, Javier Andrés Muñoz Ortiz, y también por ese lado, ¿vale? O por mi correo. Mi correo creo que ya
Profe,
lo
pero
tiene
yo lo he
también.
buscado por el chat de desayunar y tampoco aparece. No sé si es que estoy restringida o qué. Bueno, si usted me podría buscar a ver si me ingresa. Pero yo he ingresado y no, o sea, no aparece nada. Y
Mm.
lo busco por el chat y tampoco me deja ingresar.
Entonces, por el correo, jamonos973@micena.edu.com, ¿vale?
Listo, profe. Muchas gracias.
A usted, Paola. Bueno, Livia, vamos a chequear rapidito. Nivel 4. Laura, Lady, no. Ese es su primer nombre, ¿cierto? Livia Piedad Pozu Quintero. Porque si
Sí,
es Livia
señor,
Piedad.
sí, es mi primer nombre. Livia Piedad Pozo Quintero.
Sí, efectivamente, usted es mi aprendiz.
Ah, ya, ok, gracias.
Ok, ok. Listo, muchachos. Si no hay más preguntas, entonces nos vemos el miércoles. Cualquier cosa por correo electrónico o por cualquiera de los otros accesos que usted tiene para contactar. ¿Listo? Feliz día, muchachos. Un placer haberlos visto la noche de hoy.